Uno, dos, one, two, tres, cuatro.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Rethink Your Legacy. This is Francisco Servent. And if you're just joining us for the first time today, welcome. Good morning. It's a beautiful morning, right? I think we're past the hump of the summer heat. This has just been a gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous week. And today I really have something, I don't know, I don't invite you guys to these things all that often. I think maybe this is only second time, maybe third time. But you are invited, and I'm welcoming you, all of you guys, all of you listeners, to a free webinar I'm hosting this Thursday at 11:30, right kind of lunchtime, this coming Thursday, August 19th. And this webinar is intended to deal with a massive, probably the biggest problem we run into. It is keeping these documents, these plans, you guys, your families, your loved ones, out of the nightmare for the sole reason that they weren't kept up to date. And it's not that surprising for me when we get a phone call from somebody, from a family member who says their loved one has passed away, or they're trying to take care of their mom or their dad, and they're running into problems. Folks, we get hundreds of phone calls every month. Come on, let's get this stuff done. My own abuelita, you guys have heard me tell the story, right? Her husband died when she was a young mother. She had 6 kids. My dad was the youngest. He was only 5 years old when his dad died. And he didn't leave her a organized estate plan of any kind whatsoever. They weren't wealthy. They weren't, he left her enough, a little nest egg to take care of him. But he passed away from lung cancer, and after he died, she didn't know what to do with the money. She really didn't. She didn't have any, experience or training or whatever. And I know there's a lot of you out there who are really pretty reliant on your spouse or your significant other to take care of all these details. And we just got to step up. I have this stuff is a nightmare. So anyway, I'm going to tell you how to sign up for this webinar. All you have to do is go to our website, the specific one for this show, Rethink Your Legacy. It's radio.keystonelawfirm.com. And I'm going to walk you through how to do that. So you may want to get it open on your phone so I can show you exactly what you need to do so that you get registered correctly. But it's this Thursday, August 19 at 11:30 a.m. It is going to be online. It was just the quickest way I could get something together and be able to help enough people. We already have tons of people signed up for it, so we have some more space. Our system doesn't have an unlimited number of attendee spots available, so get in if you run it. We're not going to be offering it as a recorded version, so if you can't make it, I apologize if you can't make that time work. If you can make the time work, then sign up, get it, set it up and let it play in the background. You can have it play on your smartphone, your iPad, your computer, to be able to get this information. Because what happens here when this stuff is out of date is just a nightmare. We have one case that still isn't done. This probably started, man, can I even remember when it started? I want to say this started, I'm thinking back of which office I was in, because we've moved offices a couple times over the last 15 years. I'm trying to remember which office we were in when it started. Okay, so it started about 6 years ago. About 6 years ago. And I'm going to mess up some of the facts so that everybody stays confidential. But essentially what happened was this gal calls and says, oh my gosh, I need help, like immediately. And my receptionist does a good job of making sure, when somebody who's not a client yet, making sure that they really know what's going on, that we've screened it. It's not just because we get, you can imagine as a law firm, we actually get a lot of crazy clients too, or not clients, crazy phone calls. So, my receptionist does a good job. What's going on? Well, turns out it's not like an emergency. Her dad is safe, and she's trying to take care of him. But what happened over the weekend was insane. So here's what happened. Maybe you've known somebody who's been in assisted living or in a nursing home setting. There's different levels of nursing home settings. Well, this gal's dad was in the assisted living setting. And in that kind of a setting, there are specific kinds of rules on what can happen. Well, turns out what we found out was that she gets a phone call while she's sitting at work saying, "Hi, this is, such and such police department. We believe we have your father." And she's sitting there at her desk going, "What? What do you mean you have my dad?" "Yes, ma'am, we do. We need you to come down to Circle K at this corner, blah, 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 because he's here. He's safe, but we need you to come get him." Middle of the workday, right? She's sitting there working. And so she jumps up. She tells her boss, "Oh my gosh, I have the emergency with my dad. I gotta go. I'll be back. I'll let you know as soon as I know something." So she bolts. She runs over, meets up. What the heck? Finds the police. Says, "What happened to my dad? How did he get here? Dad, are you okay? He seems fine. He's just confused, and he has dementia. So, but he's okay." The police explain that the best they could piece the story together, he was dropped off there by a taxi company, and the best they could backtrack from there. And she's like, "Well, how the heck did he ever get into a taxi? He lives at the assisted living home over on that side of town." Find out he doesn't really remember, but comes to discover that he had called a taxi company from his assisted living home, and who knows how he got the number, and had said, "I need a ride to the airport because I'm going to Costa Rica." What? They actually came, picked him up, and started driving him towards the airport. And at some point they found out, wait a minute, this isn't the right, we shouldn't have taken this guy. And we don't know how they really connected him back to the police department, but she got him, he's safe, takes him back to the assisted living home, and then proceeds to chew them up inside and out. I mean, holy crap. Can you imagine if they would have done this to your dad, to your mom, to your spouse, right? They're supposed to take care of them. Well, what she finds out from their director is that this is a assisted living. This is not the type of nursing home where they can lock him up and throw away the key. Not throw away the key, but where they can lock him up and refuse that he be allowed to go anywhere. She learns that in assisted living, the residents, they can essentially come and go as they please. There's no lockdown order, right? Oh my gosh. So she says, "Well, you've got to add a lockdown order. You've got to. My dad can't be wandering. We can't have this. This is dangerous." Obviously, right? And they say, "We can't. I'm sorry. Your legal authority to put that on his file. You don't have legal authority to do that. He could put that on himself, but he's got dementia, and so he can't be making legal decisions anymore." What? I mean, the insanity just continues, right? So she's, "Well, what do I have to do? Tell me, what do I have to do? You go, tell me, what do I have to do to keep my dad safe?" And they have very, long, deep, thick policy books about what they can do in different situations. So they go through their big binder of standard operating procedures, and they're like, "What do we do? What do we do? What do we do?" And they find out in their book, it says, if a family member doesn't have legal authority, then they have to get a court order to do it. How do you get a court order? That doesn't sound easy. No, it's not. She gets referred to me, and that's why she's now calling my office. Why in the world does she have to get a court order? That's what we're talking about today. She had power of attorney. She had healthcare directives for her dad. She had a trust. She had a will. We're going to talk about all of this today. And guys, I'm gonna keep going on this story of what happened to this gal and her dad, because what happened, it's just gonna break your heart. So stick with me, come back after the break so I can please share this information with you. If you want to sign up for the webinar on Thursday, it's this Thursday at 11:30 a.m. It's online. Then go to radio.keystonelawfirm.com. What you'll see there is you'll see the little form that says get this week's checklist. Put your name and info into that. What is going to happen is I'm going to send you a text message. I'm going to send you an email that has the registration link. Okay, so you need to fill that out where it says get this week's checklist. Fill that out, click submit, get signed up. It'll send you the link by text. It'll send you the link to your email. Click the next step to register for the webinar. All right, we'll be back after the break to pick up on this story. Welcome back, guys. This is Francisco Servent with Rethink Your Legacy. I'm an estate planning attorney. We do estate planning, asset protection, and probate. That's it. I don't dabble in DUIs or divorces or bankruptcies or criminal whatever, right? I've got good referrals if you need one for those. Don't gamble and just, try your luck with that stuff. If you need estate planning, probate, or asset protection, that's what we do. The story today is all about keeping your estate plan up to date and the problems when you run into that. If you need help with that, give us a call, 480-750-7788. That's the phone number for you. But what I really want to invite you to is to a free training I'm doing this Thursday at 11:30 a.m. It's online, so you're going to have to jump through that hoop of registering and clicking through and getting through that technology. I know we all are sick and tired of the online world that everything seems to have moved to with COVID, but it was just the fastest and best way for me to be able to get the word out on this. So we're doing it online. We do plan to have some in-person events in the future, so I will definitely let you know when those are available. But today, the webinar we're doing on Thursday, that online training, it is titled, Does Your Estate Plan Need a Tune-Up? Really? When do you need to tune this stuff up? When do you need to make a tweak? When do you need to modify it? How often do you need to look at it? And that's what we're going to cover Thursday. And I'm going to spend a full hour with no interruptions, no breaks, etc., with you going through the pieces of the puzzle, when they need to be looked at, what are some of the reasons that might, things that might happen in your life that would trigger, oh boy, I better get this looked at type question. So all of that is what we're going to cover Thursday, and then how to update things, obviously. But today I want to make sure that I've given you, I want to pick up on this story I was just sharing with you guys, because this, to me, it was one of the cases that really woke me up to how badly we need to update stuff and keep it updated. So right before the break, I started sharing with you what this gal was just told, that she had to get a court order to be able to protect her dad, basically to be able to tell her dad, or not tell her dad, but tell the assisted living home, don't let my dad wander. Don't let him wander off into the wild blue yonder. Keep him safe because he's got dementia. And they told her she didn't have the power to do it. And this was even though she had healthcare directives. She had, her dad had prepared all these documents before, the healthcare directives, living will, power of attorney, last will and testament, a living trust. He had all this stuff. And so what the heck? This was supposed to protect him, let her make these decisions so she could do that. But they told her, nope, sorry. And what was their reason? So she came and she called my office. My receptionist then scheduled her for an appointment. She came in and sat down. And the main reason, the crux of the whole issue, was that his documents weren't up to date. And what was the key problem for her in these documents was that his healthcare directive was prepared before, well, actually, I'm Now that I think about this, I can't. It was like 6 years ago. I can't remember specifically, but was it prepared before? I don't think it was. It either was prepared before the law changed, or it was prepared after the law changed by someone who didn't include the new and updated language. So the clause that was missing, or the whole section that was missing actually, was the section giving her the authority to have mental health powers over her father. And we don't often think of mental health as a issue, that we need to be able to make decisions for someone. We think medical, we think that pull the plug type scenario. In her situation with her dad, it was a longer term illness. It was dementia. He was otherwise healthy. He needed help going to doctors, making decisions about, what type of treatment or medicine or surgical care or whatever for a long term, right? I mean, she was doing this for a long time with him. But the healthcare power of attorney document that he had, that some lawyer prepared for him, it only said that she has healthcare and medical care powers. It didn't mention anything about Alzheimer's, dementia, or mental health issues. So the assisted living home that he was in told her, you don't have authority to place him under memory care services. And that's the level of care he needed. That's the level of care that they don't let people wander out of the facility or out of that floor, because they have the rules in place that are allowed to lock those residents up. Think about that, right? That's kind of a big deal. If you think about it from her dad's perspective, maybe even think about it from your own mom or dad's perspective, or actually think about it from your own perspective for just a second. Imagine if somebody else could say, you're going to live in this room and you're not allowed to get outside without my permission. That's a really drastic thing to be able to do. There's only one other scenario where that happens, right? And that's in jail. Literally, that's in our prisons, where somebody else gets to say, you're in this bedroom and you're not allowed to leave unless I say so. I know it's not, these places are not prison, they're not jail, but from a pure civil liberties perspective, that's how drastic our legal system treats it. It is that serious. So it's not done to someone without the proper legal checks and balances in place. I hope you can understand really the severity of that, and how we want to have some protections around that. If you've seen the movie I Care a Lot, kind of exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen that movie, highly recommend it. It's entertaining. It's about this whole issue of locking people up against their wishes. So I Care a Lot is the movie. The issue with the daughter, though, is that the dad's healthcare power of attorney didn't say she had the power to do that. Arizona passed the mental health powers law. It's been 12 or 13 or more years. And so he didn't have that in there. He didn't keep it up to date. And so now she was literally stuck. She had no power to tell the facility, move my dad into a memory care unit where he can be safe, where he can be cared for, and where he won't be at risk of being, swept away by a taxi driver and taken who knows where. That's just dangerous. That's just not safe. And for somebody who, you want to take care of your mom, your dad, your spouse, you want to be able to keep them in. It's the hardest thing in the world to make a decision to place them into a care facility. But when you have to do it, you need it to be safe. And, that's where it gets tough. So you need to be able to do that, and be able to do that without a court order, because what I had to explain to her is what it means to now go get a court order. It is a nightmare. And that's what I want breakdown for you so you know what that looks like. So a court order in this type of situation, it's called a guardianship. It's where the court will either give her or somebody else the power to make decisions over his entire life. Everything about his life, his care, his medical treatment, and the court is going to get involved. So she had to now hire us to draft up and file a lawsuit against her dad. And that's what it is. It's a lawsuit against your dad, against your mom, against your spouse, your husband, your wife, if you don't have all these documents up to date. So she had to pay us a ton of money to do that. And then guess what? Now the court's involved. And now the court gets to appoint, and it has to appoint an attorney for him, a doctor for him, an accountant, a social worker, all these other people who are getting paid out of his pocket. And that's where I'm going to pick up after the break. If you want to sign up for the webinar, please jump over right now. Go to radio.keystonelawfirm.com. Type that in on your phone right now, and let me tell you how to do it. Go to radio.keystonelawfirm.com, scroll down a little bit, fill in that little form. It says get this week's checklist. I know I didn't get my web guy didn't get to change that. It's terrible, but fill that out. What it will do is it'll send you a text message and it'll send you an email, both, just so you can have both. And then you will have a link that you click on to then sign up for the webinar. It'll take you to the webinar registration page. It's this Thursday at 11:30, where I'm going to go through everything you need to know about when you need to update your plan, how to do it, and all the pieces of that puzzle. All right, we'll be back after the break. Good morning. Welcome back, everybody. This is Francisco Servent, your attorney, your problem solver at law. And on our show today, Rethink Your Legacy, I am telling you guys about this horrible court case that happened because she had to hire us and sue her dad to get the authority to place him into memory care. Dad had a healthcare power of attorney, had living will, living trust, durable power of attorney, had all these legal documents in place. The big problem was that he didn't keep them up to date. He put them together, did a great job. He made that investment of his time, his money, worked with a good law firm, but then he just let it sit there and get more and more and more stale as time went on. And what happened was the law changed. And in Arizona, it happens. We've had so many legal changes over the years. It happens, something massive happens every couple years. There's a new court case or massive statutory change, and it just didn't get up to date. And what ends up happening is she has to hire us to go basically get the documents fixed after he's diagnosed with dementia and he can't sign legal documents anymore. So the problem with an illness like that is you can't fix your documents. You can't legally sign something. And so the only way to fix it is to go to court. And she has to go to court to get a court order that says she has the ability to place her dad in a memory care facility so that he can be taken care of. What does it even take? Have any of you ever been through a lawsuit? If you have, you know how emotionally draining they are, but then you also have maybe a taste of how ridiculously expensive they are. When you get into a guardianship, it is as emotionally draining as any court custody divorce battle out there, and just light years more expensive. The average cost of a guardianship case is well over $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. I mean, that's an easy average, unfortunately, because of how many people get appointed by the court and how many professionals get involved and get paid out of your money. So what does she have to do? She has to hire us. So anyway, what I'm inviting you to is a webinar this Thursday at 11:30. It's going to be an online training for Does Your Estate Plan Need a Tune-Up? I want you to come to that. And how you sign up for that is you go to the website, go to radio.keystonelawfirm.com. If you type that in right now on your phone, you can see how to do this. Type in radio.keystonelawfirm.com. Scroll down, there's a little form to fill out. And I know my web guy didn't get a chance to update it this week because I didn't tell him in time, my bad. It says get this week's checklist. Well, you're not going to get a checklist. You're going to get a link to register. So fill that out so the system can send you the link, okay? Just fill it out, click submit, and then poof, you'll get the link. It'll either be texted to you or you'll get it in your email. And then you just go to that link, click it, and what that'll take you to is it'll take you to the page to sign up. So then you just go to that page, it says, does your estate plan need a tune-up? Register now, click that, fill out the information. That will then send you the link for the online training on Thursday at 11:30. It's an hour long. You can play in the background, whatever you're doing, or, I would recommend you use this time and dedicate it. Learn what you need to do and when you need to update your plan. So many different things can trigger that, and the last thing you want to do is end up like this gal and her dad and their whole family. Because here's what happened. She had to hire us to sue her dad to get this court order. Well, the process of a guardianship, it requires a lot of things. It's not just, file the court order or file the paperwork and ask the judge to sign off and approve the order. No. Our court has a lovely bureaucracy that needs to be satisfied. And, as much as we want to just throw the bureaucracy out the window, it's there on purpose for the protection of your parent, of each family member involved. It is there to protect the civil rights of everybody. I mean, it really is. So she files all this lawsuit. You file it in court, and then what happens is we have to serve it on her dad. You've been served kind of a thing. Yeah, it literally has to have that happen. But the court will immediately, in this kind of a case, appoints a court-appointed attorney to represent dad, so that dad has somebody to make sure to represent his interest. Then the court also appoints an investigator. It's like a social worker, goes out and does an investigation. Then the court appoints a doctor to be able to, kind of make sure dad really is incapacitated, that the daughter's not just blowing smoke. Can appoint, or does in this case, appoints a guardian ad litem. Now, usually that's another attorney. That's an attorney who isn't beholden to anybody, really. It's just beholden, really, to the court. So the court-appointed attorney is representing dad and dad's wishes. So if dad's like, you're my lawyer, yeah, well, here's what I want. Well, that lawyer has to do what dad wants, right? If you go out and hire a lawyer anywhere, your lawyer is supposed to do what you want. Like, they are hired guns. Us lawyers, we are, and obviously we have the choice to take the case or not, right? But if we choose to accept a client, we have to go fight for their rights. That's what us lawyers do. So the court-appointed attorney for dad is there to fight for dad's rights, for what dad wants. Okay, well, that's fine. So the guardian ad litem is another attorney who's supposed to just tell the court, well, regardless of what everybody says they want, I'm going to tell you what I think should happen. So they're sort of independent. They're like an independent advisor to the court. Okay, so there's like 5-6 people now appointed. And guess who's paying for all these people? Not the court. No. Well, the court will pay for them if there's no money involved. But of course, dad has a little bit of money, and so dad has to pay for all of them. And guess how much he pays? He pays all of their full hourly private rates. Yeah. So, what do lawyers cost these days in Arizona? $300, $400, $500 an hour? Yeah, dad's paying their fees full private rates. Oh, wow. Ouch. I promise you this was expensive. So she files the lawsuit, gets dad served, gets all of these people involved. Court says, we need to get some evidence on this, because dad, he hears from somebody, probably from his lawyer, that she will have the authority to lock him up. And remember what I said earlier? that this authority is kind of like locking somebody in jail, because our law looks at it like that. You're locking him up probably against his will, and he tells his lawyer, I don't want to be locked up, I want you to fight this. And so what does his lawyer do? Happily fights it. And so then we get thrown into now a contested guardianship case, the daughter against her father, for her to have the authority to take care of him. This is not a unique circumstance. This happens all the time. So dad, who has dementia, is now fighting his own daughter for her to be able to take care of him. All because he didn't have a plan that was up to date. He let it get old. He let it get old. How old? So I'm going to go over some of my ideas and thoughts and recommendations on that in real detail when we get to the webinar on Thursday. So go sign up for that right now, radio.keystonelawfirm.com. The really destructive thing in Arizona is that we don't have a law that says, here's how old is too old. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I think one of them is because they don't know when they're going to change the laws in the future. So, and this was a circumstance where the laws needed to change, and they did, and your old documents don't automatically, poof, get new clauses added to them, right? So, they were out of date. They didn't have the mental health powers. So, what you need to do is to follow me on your phone, on your iPad, whatever, just grab it. You're listening to the show. Just grab it, pick it up, type in on your browser, radio.keystonelawfirm.com. Scroll down to the little form, put your name and email and your phone number so we can send you the link to register. Once you click submit, you're going to get a link. Go to your text, go to your email, find that link, click it, and then it will take you to the registration page so that you can sign up for the webinar this Thursday at 11:30. Okay? It's pretty simple. It's an online training. I'm going to tell you what kinds of things might trigger the need for an update. Things in your life, things in the law, things that just happen. Okay? And then what you need to do about it. What documents you need to make sure you've got. At least as of now, what the current best thinking is, what the current best planning is, and then how to get it done. So join me Thursday for that. But you have to register for it. So go to radio.keystonelawfirm.com and sign up. Get the link so that you can join me this Thursday. All right, after the break, I'm going to share with you kind of how the story ended up and the really sad, sad ending. Good morning. Welcome back, everybody. This is Francisco Servent with Rethink Your Legacy. And if there's anything that I hope you learned from today's show, it's that we each need to pursue this kind of stuff. It's a lifelong effort, okay? It just is. My heart breaks when somebody does a really good job of setting up their will, their trust, and protects their family. And then the emergency happens and things are 5, 10, 15 years old and the family has to go through a nightmare like this gal with her dad. So her dad contested her request to get this court order. And through the attorneys, through the court system, all of the family, even the extended family members, even these even some long lost family members, all had to be notified of this court case because that's what due process requires. And guess what happens? One of these long lost family members throws their hat in the ring and says, "I'll take care of him. You don't need to lock him up. He can move in with me." And of course, he says, "That sounds like a great idea. Let's do that." And if you know what the dementia disease process looks like, it's not, it's risky to move people around. It's risky to have stressful events. And what ended up happening was the court actually did not order that the daughter could do it and said, "That sounds like a much better idea. Let's have you move over there." So moved in, spent tons of money, spent tons of his own money getting that house configured and set up to be able to take care of him. And this long-lost family member, after only 2 days, ended up with him in the emergency room on life support and moved up to the ICU because she didn't know how to take care of him. She didn't realize how hard it would be. She didn't realize how much care it would require. And I understand she had the best intentions, and I don't fault her for having the best intentions, but it was not a wise and thoughtful decision. He ended up having a very serious medical event, and she waved the white flag, surrendered, said, "I can't do this, you need to take him back." And the court then gave the daughter the authority to put him into a memory care unit. But when the daughter got him back, he was a completely different man. The stress of that event significantly accelerated his decline, and he was just no longer the spunky dad that he was, and he was just an old man in a wheelchair after that, and about 6 months later he died. The court system doesn't know what you know. It can't ever know what you know about your family and about your loved ones. And after that whole guardianship case, the biggest failure wasn't how much money was spent on the court system, the legal fees, all the ridiculous costs. It was pushing $100,000 on all those expenses. But that wasn't the big nightmare. The big failure was just what happened to him. He, a year earlier, he had dementia, but he was the spunky, energetic, dad who could still engage, still have, family dinners, was still celebrating holidays. But a drastic and severe decline in his health happened when he had to go through something as stressful as being moved into a family member's home who didn't know how to take care of him, and he just declined until he was on life support. And that's the major failure. And all because she didn't have a document that said, I can move him into memory care when I need to. You have somebody in your life who you trust more than a local judge. Not because the local judge has it out for you or has evil intentions, but because they just don't know you. They don't know your family. And it's not easy. The court system does not make it easy, and sometimes gets it wrong about what they should do for you. And in this case, they got it wrong. No amount of fighting in the court system was going to win it. And so your job is to commit to the simple act of keeping your really boring and annoying legal documents up to date. That's your job. That's our job as people of integrity, as people who say we care about our family, as people who say this is important to us. So I'm inviting you to join me for my webinar for an online training this Thursday at 11:30. I know it's quick. I get it. It's only a few days away. So be it, right? If this is important enough, you make a little room on Thursday at 11:30 to 12:30. Make a little room in your calendar to attend. You don't have to drive anywhere. You don't have to go anywhere. You can do this from home. I won't tell your boss you can do it from work, right? Put it in the background, put your earbuds in, kind of a thing. Learn this. When do you need to, what types of things might happen in your life that trigger the need for an update? What kinds of things happen in your financial situation that might trigger the need for an update? And what types of things might happen in the law that might trigger a need for an update? And then how do you execute an update? Most people that I talk to have done a will or a trust before at some time in the past. It just wasn't kept up to date. I told you the story of my abuelita. She didn't have any estate plan from her husband, from my grandpa when he died, and she lost it all because there was just no guidance. There was no instructions whatsoever. On the other side of my family, my grandpa, he updated his plan after my grandmother passed away. He updated it because he got remarried, and so that adds another level of complexity and issue, and thank goodness that he did, because even with that update, it was still tenuous. It was still stressful for my mom and her brother to go through that process, but that at least they had the right instructions from him on what to do. So how do you sign up? You go to the website. Go to radio.keystonelawfirm.com. Let me walk you through it. If you jump over there right now on your phone, on your iPad, on whatever device you've got, just type radio.keystonelawfirm.com. Scroll down a little bit. You'll see a form there. And I apologize to you. It says get this week's checklist. I don't have a checklist for you for this week. You'll get all the other week's checklists, so you will get some checklists. But fill that out, because that will trigger a text message to you and an email to you that will give you the registration link, and that's what you want. That's your way to get the registration link. So fill that out, click submit, and then look for the text message and the email so you can register and sign up to join the online training this Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Do it from your phone, do it from your iPad, from a computer. It works anywhere. And it's at 11:30 this Thursday. All right. Now, the reason why this guardianship case is still going 6 years later, even though the dad has passed away, is because it turned into a probate after his death because of that. And now this thing is just dragging on and on and on. These things it's like the probate system, once it gets its claws in you, has a really hard time letting it go, because you've got to satisfy now the court system that everything was done correctly, every I dotted, every T crossed, and not to your family's satisfaction, but to the court's satisfaction. So join me this Thursday so that you can build this just for your family, for the people you love, for the people that you care about. All right, that's all I got for you today, everybody. Go out there, make it a great day. It's a beautiful Sunday. Spend some time with those you love. Live today as if it might be that last day, right? Take advantage of it. This is an important day. All right, take care, guys. We'll see you next week.